There's a magic in the feel of a paddle and the movement of a canoe, a magic compounded of distance, adventure, solitude, and peace. The way of the canoe is the way of the wilderness and of a freedom almost forgotten. The open door to waterways of ages past, and a way of life with profound and abiding satisfactions. It was an event that captured the attention and imagination of a nation. In the heart of Canada's centennial year 1967, a Voyageur canoe race was held, taking one team from each province and territory on a 3,300-kilometer race across Canada.
From coast to coast, excitement is rising today in this, our centennial year, as we broadcast the beginning of our most extensive and colorful centennial project. The Centennial Voyageur Canoe Pageant, with 10 canoes representing the provinces and the territories, is ready to embark on a grueling 104 days of paddling all the way to Montreal, Quebec.
In the end, a young team of men from Manitoba won the race, and by doing so created a legacy that still remains in today's paddling circles.
We started in Rocky Mountain House, and basically we went from town to town throughout the North Saskatchewan and South Saskatchewan.
Each team had a 400-pound canoe, and there was no fear, all kinds of strength and power.
We stopped at every town along the way, and they had celebrations for the Canadian Centennial.
The last final sprint was in a man-made lake right in the middle of Expo 67 site, and it was probably one of the most exciting parts of the whole experience.
I think that 67 thing triggered this event, and this event is unbelievable, what they've done.
It's the history of Northern Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and it's what we lived here in Flin Flon when we grew up, and it's absolutely superb.
Well, there's an old saying around Flin Flon and the Paw, love many, trust few, always paddle your own canoe.
Did you get that?
First of all, I want to welcome everybody, all the people that have traveled in to Prince Albert today. We had 31 teams registered, and we ended up with 30 teams showing up today, so one team had to drop out. Give yourselves a hand for showing up.
The Canoe Quest is a 1,018-kilometer journey across northern Saskatchewan, and it is a journey on the Churchill River system.
Whistle, satellite phone.
Lots of logistics, lots of coordination. Biggest centennial event out there. Satellite phone number. Actually, the concept was Renee and Solomon Carrier of Cumberland House working with Sid Robinson, who's a judge in La Ronge, and they're actually all participants in the race.
272, 2 pounds over the men. Whoa.
We first started back in 1999. We sat down with Sid Robinson and Solomon and myself over a cup of tea in La Ronge, and we talked about the possibility of paddling across, Saskatchewan. The Centennial was coming up. We talked about boats and then what they did in 1967, and just the huge impact that the trip across Canada with all the provinces and the territories in these 25-foot canoes had on everybody.
This is what we didn't want to know, guys.
This
I think this guy's one of the oldest racers here. Larry Green. How old are you, Larry?
39.
39 and going on.
To have this scale of an event, you know, you're talking with the support crews and everything else, 200 people on the water going down the Churchill at one time. And at most of the campsites, you know, over 400 people for 2 weeks in an isolated wilderness setting with water levels the highest they've been in 31 years, rapids faster and meaner than anybody's ever seen them, and things changing all the time.
Bison, you're good?
The number one concern right now is the high water level, the speed of those rapids, the roughness of those rapids. So you're going to see things change a little bit from time to time.
We just need to have a look at it and do the safest route, whether it's portage or whether it's paddling the rapids. Sometimes high water can be an advantage in places, disadvantage in other places. So.
Well, we're from Cumberland House. We live on an island, so we live right around the Saskatchewan River surrounds us. So it's something that we've lived with all our lives. So it's not a real big issue, not really. The rapids will be something that is going to be difficult for every team.
Some of the people that haven't seen whitewater having to see that they're strongest, and I think that might be an issue for them. But I think it's also safer that the water is higher because you can go closer to the shore. So you can skirt some of those the big water, and I think sometimes it's safer when it's this high of a water.
The 30 teams leave Prince Albert on a trip of more than 500 kilometers from the prairies to the boreal forest of the north. They take everything they'll need for the next 15 days to the Clearwater River Dene Nation on the Lost Lake, where the Canoe Quest adventure will begin.
My van Blissey doesn't like the rain, so we
have to keep it going.
Yeah, and some folks were stopped in the middle of the road chatting.
Both lanes,
so we had to stop, and of course Blissey had to take a rest too. So
she just needed a cigarette, like the rest of us. She did it for us.
We're pretty sure it's flooded. We're hoping.
God bless you.
The canoe teams and their support crews create Paddler's Village, a small community of 400 people that springs up in an empty field in just a couple of hours. By 4:30 the next morning, they'll be busy again, tearing down the site and getting ready for the race to begin.
I think everyone's a bit nervous about tomorrow.
But looking forward to it as well.
I'm sure we don't have any need to be nervous about tomorrow. I mean, I know the route and sort of paddled it and stuff, and I know what we're in for, but it's kind of new to everyone, so just as the first day, let's see what 89 kilometers really feels like. I guess that's the biggest worry.
This is a long race, and that sprint yesterday was a whole lot of fun, and I'm glad they had it, but it really doesn't have much effect on the endurance it's going to take to finish this race in good position. You know what I mean? This is 15 days, 1,000 kilometers. 1,000 meters is nothing.
It's kind of chilly here this morning, though. All the teams will be ready. We're going to start the race in about
2 minutes here. Be ready.
It was pandemonium at first. Like I said, we got out there and started passing canoes and started singing, and we got on and we were feeling pretty good about it. Not paying too much, like we were handling the big waves really well and not really concerned about it. And then I called a switch when we were kind of broad on a wave, and the guys came down real good, but the guys going up didn't have a chance. The side of the canoe dipped in the water and we were probably 3/4 full of water. Now we're sitting out there in the big waves.
Perfect. Pretty exciting.
As the teams leave the 4-foot swells on the Losh Lake, they enter the sheltered Losh River. Many paddlers can't help but wonder what this adventure will be like. What lies ahead on this trek of more than 1,000 kilometers? Saskatchewan's historical Voyager Highway begins on the Continental Divide between the drainage basins of the Arctic and Hudson Bay. Stretching more than 1,000 kilometers, this route passes through some of Canada's most rugged and beautiful scenery. The highway is made up of a chain of connected lakes and rivers that run clear and cold. Traveling downstream, the Canoe Quest journey takes the paddlers from thickly wooded forests into the bare, rocky outcroppings of the Canadian Shield and delivers them finally to the swampy marshlands near Cumberland House. Using the communities that lie along this route as stages, paddlers will be timed as they complete each day's race. Averaging 50 to 90 kilometers per stage, teams are expected to complete the route in just 15 days.
Our forefathers, when they came to Peter Pond Lake, which used to be known as Buffalo, a traditional thing they used to do was to offer a spruce bough and say, shake hands, big buffalo. And in doing that, it allowed them safe passage across the lake.
The first community greets the Canoe Quest teams. As each boat hits the shore, they find a diverse mix of people among the paddlers who have entered the race.
This is a canoe trip I always wanted to do, but I never thought I could pool the resources to do it on my own, and this just seemed like an opportunity that I couldn't miss.
I think just the idea of paddling such a huge distance across sort of remote part of Canada was really what attracted people.
I came a month ago, and because I'm a kayaker, I use my torso more than my shoulders and my arms to paddle. And when I came with these guys, I really thought the race was about a recreational paddle. So we'd go a little bit, enjoy the scenery, you know. But the first day I went with them, they got me in the boat for 4 hours. And the second day I went with them, it was 6 hours, non-stop. Then I realized this was a race, and these guys knew what they were doing.
And so we discussed the differences between canoeing and racing. And then decided on some of the training necessary to do this.
We trained with the girls when we were short of men. We trained with the girls because there was always girls that left over, so we just throw them in our boat and away we go with the rest of the women on weekend camping trips.
But we also did other land training. We went to the gym, you know, some of us were swimming, some of us were curling, and
It's very different practicing when you're at home too than here. Like it really is a reality check here. I think because we're doing better than we thought we
used
might.
to paddle up to the berry barn for.
We didn't stop for fun.
The biggest contender I think we all know will be Solomon Carrier with his collection of world champions. I mean, how can you dispute it?
This race, I think, means more than, the World Championship of Marathon Canoeing, maybe, for example. They're all special victories when you do get them, because you have to earn them. And when you earn something, it's a good feeling, because you learn the hard way, and you get respect from your people that you race against.
Well, I knew Solomon because we raced against each other in races, and then in 1987 we started pairing up for some races. So since then we've raced on and off quite a bit.
The good thing about this trip is my dad also got some other paddlers, his friends that he wanted to paddle with. It wasn't so much that he was trying to get an amazing team together. He was just trying to get guys that he liked.
Renee Carrier is Solomon Carrier's wife. She is the captain of an all-women's team, one of 3 entered in Canoe Quest.
That's what they said, yeah. But I'm not sure. I mean, it's obvious. You're going to be going that, and it's straight obvious. There's a great big dock at Dillon. I'm assuming we're going to pull up. So let's go over the map before we say that. So Pauline's going to have it, but Pauline...
And you're going to be like map reader then?
Yeah.
During summer in the north, there are a few hours of darkness. The sun sets at 11 and rises around 4 the next morning. The paddlers will find exhausting days and short nights blur together.
I think what happens in the canoe is not at all what you think happens in the canoe or what I imagined would happen in the canoe, and I'm a really social person. But generally throughout the day, it's very quiet, and there's very little time where we actually talk or converse. We're paddling, and you get in such a rhythm, and it's kind of like meditation, and you're focusing, and you're working on your stroke, and God, I'd like to count how many strokes you even do in a minute. So it's kind of this moving meditation, and but you have to be synchronized with your team, so you can't drift off too far off. So you're still connected with your team. And any socializing that you do is cut off by a hup, as in prepare to change, because you all need to work together. So it's this strange mix of teamwork, but also in silence. A lot of it happens very quietly.
Our first day yesterday, and arrived in Michelle Village, and those great folks there, and we had a great time, amazing time. And this morning we woke up bright and early. We weren't too sore, so we decided to push her pretty hard across the river, and across the lake rather, and here we are at Dillon, another great town with great folks. We're having a great time.
Served us breakfast.
It was beautiful. We loved it.
Peter Pond Lake is a big stretch of open water, thought to be one of the most hazardous on the Saskatchewan Voyageur Highway. In the 1780s, Peter Pond was a fur trader, explorer, and a dangerous character. Although he was suspected of killing 2 rival fur traders, his legitimate efforts exploring the north led Alexander Mackenzie to name the lake after him. It only seems fitting that controversy should surface on a lake named after a man with Peter Pond's reputation.
Around the point, wants everybody on the north shore. Stay to your left.
When you guys get around the point to the main lake, stay on the north shore on your left side, okay?
Ladies, race director wants everybody on the north shore after you get around the point.
And they told, like a official boat, they told us that we had to stay to the north side, and we were going to go right down the middle.
Pretty hard to understand that bullhorn out on the water. We just heard a fur, and disregarded it.
There's a lot of confusion out there. There was really, I mean, how far is away from shore? I mean, that's the debatable question on. And if the other teams are out in the middle of the lake, you're going to go into the middle of the lake.
There were three of us that took the north side, and we seen other boats ahead of us that were on the north side, and we looked across, and there was at least 3 boats that cut way over by the island, and which is a way quicker route.
Although some of the paddlers were frustrated by the race controversy, the festivities at Buffalo Narrows were quick to take center stage.
Great day, great day. Everybody's in high spirits.
Where are we going?
We're going to La Loche? No, we've already been there. Isla Crosse.
Any time after that 1 minute warning, we're going to start the race with a shotgun.
We got some wind in our face, so then probably end up with some waves by the end. It'll be good. You sleeping? You ready for today?
Oh, I'm off today, so I'm doing good.
Along this stretch of the route are a number of abandoned mink ranches, serving as a reminder of a thriving fur trade that has existed for hundreds of years in the north.
Well, the route is significant from a historical point of view because during the fur trade, it was the main artery that the voyageurs traveled on to take trade goods into the Northwest and fur out of the Northwest to make beaver hats back in England or Europe.
In the 1700s, the largest fur trader was the Hudson's Bay Company. They established forts along the Hudson's Bay, making trappers come to them. The rival Northwest Company decided to build posts along the Voyageur Highway, taking trade away from Hudson's Bay. Hudson Bay Company struck back by sending out parties to convince trappers to bring furs back to their outposts. When this failed, they were forced to build their first inland fort at Cumberland House. Competition for the fur trade became fierce. Fur outfitters continued to build forts along the Churchill. Within 50 years, more than 20 trading posts were built along the Voyageur Highway. When beaver populations dropped, so did profits. Assaults, arson, vandalism, and even hostage-taking were common events for the fur traders trying to save their bottom line. In 1821, the Northwest Company merged with the Hudson's Bay Company, leaving smaller trading outfits as the only competition. Eventually, even the Hudson's Bay Company gave up the fur trade, selling its operations in 1987. Near the finish line, 2 teams are only a meter apart. After 10 hours of paddling, the winner is decided by a last-minute sprint.
strategy then when you come into the end? Is it just all out for that last?
Well, just wait for the right moment. Just wait and give it all you have. You only need to do that for a little bit, and if you can get a break, and then you're away. And that's what happened there at the end. Yesterday night when we were up in Michelle Village, our partner Bill Toronjo, his father died up around midnight, and we got the call, and we had to try and make arrangements yesterday for Bill to go back to his family. And I knew his father, Dick, really enjoyed watching his son race and hearing about his son race in canoes. And this is such a special event. I think Bill just hates to not see the end of it, and I think maybe we'll see him, and I hope we do.
What a burn!
It was a good trip. It was hot going.
I am tired. Seemed like a long day, eh?
I think the humidity was higher too today, which made it
That was
a little
a tough
tougher.
day.
Get in the water, you know. Are you hot? Are you hot? Get in the water right now. Vicky, need some more water? Okay.
It's hard, very hard.
Yeah.
I just want to cry.
Your eyes are just red, bloodshot. It's a good thing you wore your glasses. Oh, it's
Are you okay?
Yeah? Oh, come here.
Come here.
Come here. But you made it.
I know.
You did it.
I did it. I want to give up so much.
Yeah.
But I did it. Hi.
We need to have you guys ready for extreme cold, heavy rain to extreme heat, hot sun every day.
For safety reasons, you should be wearing something on your head, a hat or a bandana or something to cover your head, because one of the guys there that ended up going to the hospital and stuff for a number of reasons, heat stroke, dehydration, stuff like that. And make sure you have a lot of fluids to drink with you.
Sunset relieves the heat of the day. The exhausted paddlers rest for the challenges that tomorrow may bring.
Today, hello, wherever you are. Like I said, I'm with you. And I'll do it till the end for you guys. Especially for you young people, I think this is the best time for me to say I would like to help the young people. So today, I'm here to help you, to give you the courage as an elder to do you. So with that, today I'd like to give you a nice day, and let's say we pray to our Creator. Mercy.
First day I've not been paddling, so I feel like a bit of a mother hen, watching them go off without being part of the team.
I got blisters on my hands and they're very, very tender, so I'm taking a break today. But I'll be out there tomorrow, so yeah, I'll just enjoy my day, help out with the team, prepare their supper when they come in.
When I say teamwork, our support crew, they're with us every day. They get up at 4 in the morning with us, they make our breakfast, and they dismantle the camp, go to the next site. So without those guys, we'd find it extremely hard. They've been very, very supportive to us, and without them, I think we'd have a hell of a time.
our responsibilities are to get everybody's gear out, get tents set up, stuff set up for the people who are paddling for that day.
Whoever's not paddling is designated as a ground crew to help out, pack up, get camp set up at the next spot.
We're doing the cooking.
Normally we get up at 4 in the morning to start, and by the time we wake them up, it's ready, so they can just get up and have something to eat.
Cleaning, making sure that everything's all set up, ready to go. Takedown. It's basically what our day is every day.
With people as unique as the landscape of the North, ground crews have the opportunity to meet interesting characters off the beaten path.
All my life I wanted a raven, but like usual I end up with crows. And the kids were playing with them, so I just stuck them in. And
how long have you had?
3 weeks.
3 weeks? He sure has taken a liking to you.
Hey, I feed him.
Can he fly?
Yes.
Yeah, he comes back. You've had him for 3 weeks and he's this tame.
Yes.
Wow.
You want to hold him? Why don't you hold him? Go underneath his, underneath his, put your hand under his breast, and he'll climb up on you. There you go.
So he must be growing fast. That's neat, eh? Got ourselves a crow. Got nice blue eyes. I've never been up this close to see their eyes. Look at that. They're a pretty smart little thing.
Might as well feed him too. He doesn't bite. He's gentle.
Oh, we like that.
Ready?
Go to Papa. Yeah. What's your name?
Henry.
Henry.
You know what the best part was for me was when we came into Pachinak. That was such a tough day. We were so tired and we were so cold. And those people standing at the beach with their welcoming hands and voices and lifting our canoe out of the water. And I understand there was massages going on for people with sore muscles and stuff, but it was just
that was such a warm
special.
community.
Pachinak, when I arrived there was 2 moose had been shot that morning. They were all lying there whole, and I was playing the bagpipes for this 93-year-old woman who was cutting up with an axe. Yeah, so by the end of the day I finished playing the pipes and the moose, there was nothing left of it. It was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it disappeared by the end of the day. So that was amazing.
Pachinak, when they said you can go knock on any door and they'll let you in and have a shower, people did and they didn't leave. You know, that's special.
How are you feeling about the rapids today, Vicky?
I think we'll do good. Confident. Very confident. We'll do good.
We're gonna run every rapid we're allowed to.
Well, I mean, if you're not worried about rapids, you know, you're getting a little bit too confident, that's for sure. But we have 4 whitewater people in our boat, so we'll be fine.
I'm trusting these guys. I always get worried, but it'll be fine. It'll be a nice change from all that flat water.
A little bit apprehensive. I've paddled up the river before, but with these different water levels, well, the water levels being much higher, everything's going to be quite different. So I don't think the experience I've got is going to count for an awful lot. So I'll just have to play it as we see it, I think.
I think it should be fun. That's why we came here, to run some rapids.
Today will be a day of firsts. It begins with a spontaneous circle of dance and prayer before a running start to the race day. Teams will also navigate drum rapids before crossing Dipper Portage.
Well, there's a bit of a hold up here because we have to get across this portage, but hopefully if we can have a few walking, then we should speed it up a little bit. The time is stopped when they get to shore at the far end, and then you'll start it up again when it passes here.
If we enter the water together, we still have whatever the
Right,
speed is.
right.
We have that lead. Okay, good. Okay, relax. Yep. Yeah. See,
Okay,
this.
the shit moving stuff we got to organize. So when we get over to trolley, what do we got to do? Let's organize that.
We can leave everything in there, right?
Okay, sounds good.
Can someone get in the middle and hold the canoe together?
The Canoe Quest teams use a portage railway to make their crossing easier. Centuries ago, the voyageurs didn't have this convenience. The voyageurs were the manpower behind the fur trade. Their job was to transport furs and supplies along remote and sometimes treacherous routes. They were often recruited from the farms and villages surrounding Montreal. These young men had a sense of adventure and were physically suited to their job.
The voyageurs, they did have it tough. They probably only slept a maximum of 5 or 6 hours a night, but they were up before the crack of dawn and on the water, probably to beat the wind in the morning. So they would typically start out at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Other nationalities were part of the voyageur tradition, including the Iroquois, and then later, Orkney men and Métis. It was crucial for a voyageur to have great strength and endurance. While in the canoe, they paddled at a back-breaking pace of 40 to 60 strokes a minute. Once they hit land, the workload increased.
When they got to the portages, they had to carry 2 packs each of 90 pounds, and the weight varied, but that was typically the weight of a pack. Each voyageur, as I understand it, was responsible for about 5 packs of 90 pounds each that he had to lug across the portage, plus his own gear. They had their own personal pack, of course. And then they had to haul the canoe, and they absolutely hated hauling the canoe.
Traditionally, they wouldn't hire anybody over 5'6" on the because then they wanted somebody burly, tough, but not too big. But no more than 5'6", they wouldn't hire them because then they were wasted bulk in the canoe.
Also for portages, if you've got 6 people that are all different heights, it makes it hard to carry the boat. Taller people are going to carry more weight on their shoulders, and the short guys don't need to help do anything. So if everybody's the same height, it makes it easier for portaging.
We looked at it for the fun of the outing and to replicate the old people, what they did back then. Right down from the canoe right up to the, and even the things on our, to keep the ants from crawling up their legs that they had on their legs. Using the old boat and the old paddles and the old outfit and not being experienced in the boat, we're having good fun.
It's fun too just going along in here and to think back that these are the same trees and the same landscape that the old voyageurs, the folks that have came before, that gone through here earlier, that were looking at the same things that they were looking at. The same things, going through the same things they were experiencing. Maybe not quite as rough in a lot of cases, but it gets the flavor and the taste of what they did, how they did it.
Thank you very much.
My mom, she grew up here, I should say.
Yeah.
When they got married, that's why my dad built this house. That's why he raised us after they make a family.
They all lived in this house?
Yeah, we live in this house. There were 7 of us in this house, this little tiny house.
Did you have your own bedroom, or was it just one big room where everyone slept?
There's 2 bedrooms only here. There is a kitchen here, and there's a little stove here and everything like that. But we managed. Well, I remember the Father Morrow.
Yeah, Father Morrow, yeah.
There's only thing I don't like, I remember when I was small, to get up early in the morning, winter time. You know what time we used to go to church? 7 o'clock in the morning, the winter time. You had to get up by 6 o'clock. My mommy used to wake us up, it's time to go to church, get up, get ready.
Louis Moreau was born in Quebec and moved to Isle-la-Crosse in 1916. He left his mark on the north by serving as a priest and building 3 distinct churches in this area. The church at Nee Lake was built by Moreau in 1951 and served the Dene people in the area. Today, the Nee Lake settlement is home to about 14 seasonal residents.
It's going to be a long evening, though, I think, because that portage trail held a lot of people up.
Long day.
But we stopped and helped other people portage too. We were nice, and people got lost.
Favors.
And we stopped and we phoned on the satellite phone because they went the wrong way and got a safety boat out to them as well.
We were like the Good Samaritans.
We hit a rock. And she lost her paddle.
Due to unusual circumstances, the last paddlers arrive at dusk. They have spent 16 and a half hours on the water, the longest day so far.
This is what we've been using to rally ourselves when our spirits have been taking a beating. We'll say what Winston Churchill said during the Second World War, which is when you're going through hell, keep going.
Are pushing ourselves way harder than we've ever done, and so emotions are all over the map. One second you're so happy because it's beautiful and you feel like having a cry, the next second you're crying because you're in so much pain.
I had a horrible day today. I totally snapped today. My wrist was really sore. I came off the boat thinking I'm never going to do this again. It's horrible.
We're all feeling a little PMS-y. So
time to go home?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's pretty hard on the guys, on everything. It's the brain as well. It's a mental game, trying to just get up every morning at 4 o'clock and know you have a hard day's paddling.
It's a real personal challenge. Like I said, we normally would never travel distances like this, and never in this kind of canoe. This is not leisure. This is not a holiday at all.
Yeah.
No, this is very extreme.
The challenges are definitely becoming less physical and more mental. It's
Yes.
Physically, I think now we know we can do it, and we can do it, and we go out and just keep paddling. But mentally, it's kind of like, oh, it's another huge lake. We have to get across right over to there, where the trees are that high.
Some of the girls say, oh man, this is, one day you want to quit and go home. But then as soon as you come in and you get a shower and something to eat, you say, okay, tomorrow's another day, and it's once in a lifetime.
Looking at me, we have to stay on the left side here. So yeah, either the right side or stay out the middle here. I think. I'm not sure how far they are, but should be here in a minute, I guess. I think 4th is our team here. 4th? Right here.
29 teams pass Snake Rapids, but one team is missing. Team Shared Paths is forced to make a difficult decision.
Oh, jeez. He bucked up his leg, flipped over in the rapids, and he wrecked his leg, eh?
Good work, Tim. What's tough about it is the format of this event. If this were a canoe trip, we dumped in the rapids at 5 o'clock or 4, I don't know what time it was. You'd quit for the day. We'd quit for the day, and that'd be it. We'd regroup, we'd have a nice campfire, we'd have a good time, and go on the next day. But when you've got another 40K to do, it's not the same game, is it? And then you've got to do 79 today. Well,
It's going to be emotional. Mixed feelings. Yeah, it's going to be emotional.
You know, I was looking forward to the next 3 days. I thought most of those guys would be able to get a break then, and the rest of us can take over for the next 3 days, which are going to be a lot easier, a lot shorter. Brigade days, we have some help. Nabson lives in Grandmother's Bay, and I really was hoping that he'd be able to paddle into his home community. I was looking forward to that. Did the best we could, and we should be proud of that.
Oh,
yeah. And we're still friends, and that was one of our goals.
we didn't just come to race. We figured we'd all be winners if we just got to the starting line. We just wanted to stay paid. We did. We did the best we could. It's good.
We're not going to go on anymore. Glenn fell in the rapids and hurt his knee yesterday, and Dave and Crystal have a funeral to go to this week, and we won't have enough paddlers to continue on, so we have to stop. You have time? We're all sad.
I think we need a hook.
Huh?
Yeah, I think we need a hook.
Yeah.
I badly want to finish this race. All of us want to finish this race badly. Just gotta keep our spirits high.
Before I go any further, let's give a round of applause to the community of Pine House. And a little update on Cumberland House. It looks like we probably will not finish in Cumberland House at this point. We're making some phone calls just because Cumberland House is flooded. We're calling the mayor and we're calling the chief in Cumberland. If Cumberland says no, we're going to phone Sturgeon Landing and see if they can host a big event like this. Before I go any further, the gentleman that lost his father from Michigan, he went home on Tuesday and left us, and when we were traveling from Michelle to Dillon, he drove to Buffalo, got on a plane, flew to Michigan to go to his dad's funeral. He loved this race so much, he was back last night. He's with us already.
My dad has been declining in health for the last several months, and he had been a smoker for a lot of years, and his lungs pretty much gave out. So I knew coming up here it was going to be kind of iffy if he was going to make it. So when I left, I said, "Hang on 3 weeks, you know, and I'll be back with some good stories for you." And he laughed, and I didn't think I would get emotional. Hold on. He laughed and said, "Hold on," or he said, "You go have a good time. You know, it'll be all right. You go have a good time." So, you know, I came up here with the knowledge that he might not make it. Anyway, Monday night or Sunday night, the RCMP woke me up and said he'd had a heart attack, and Monday night they said he passed. So you got to go home. It's non-negotiable, you know. You just got to go home. My family needs me. So we got out of here, but you know, the last thing he said is go have fun, and we took care of that business back home, and the family met, and we started thinking about what's going on up here, and I signed on and figured I better finish it up, so this will be for him. How's the rib?
Good. No problems so far. No blood yet anyway.
Well, we had Alistair back in the boat. Well, in the boat for the first time since he broke his rib trying to get back in a swamped canoe.
While we were training on Lake Laronge, we tipped the boat purposely to see how we would be able to get it back upright properly and do all the proper things and bail it out. And so we bailed it out and we all went to get back in, and while I was lifting myself back up into the boat, pulling myself up, I slipped and my rib came down hard on the gunnel and I had broken a rib, I think. So I went to the hospital to get that confirmed, and it was.
He was desperate to get paddling, and every evening he'd see these paddlers come in exhausted, and just I think he felt like he was missing out and wanted to know what was going on out in the water to make everyone so tired and shattered.
It was really a bit apprehensive, of course, because the concern was that I would go maybe 5 or 10k and then it would get worse and I would be unable to paddle, but in fact it got better and better as the day went on, and in the last hour I felt more comfortable the harder I paddled. So.
How was it out there? Pretty close?
Yeah. Tight race. Race to the end. You can give up though.
Good tough day today.
Hats off to them guys. They beat us fair and square, but tomorrow is a brand new day. Hey, what are you doing drinking that stuff?
I think if you guys would give those people back there a big round of applause.
Have you any idea how much that hurts our blisters?
And pound your blisters again, because they're going to have breakfast. They're going to start cooking for us at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. This for the people out there that are not at this meeting. The total distance that this Canoe Quest is 1,018 kilometers. We have now gone 470 kilometers.